Weak starting hands, fold like a pro. Most players don't lose because they never bluff. They lose because they enter too many pots with hands that can't win enough in a high rake environment. If you want to move up in stakes, you have to treat folding as an expected value skill, not a lack of courage. Your goal pre-flop is simple. Start with hands that make strong, repeatable value lines and dump the hands that create guesswork. What makes a starting hand weak? A weak starting hand isn't just low cards. It's any hand that fails one or more of these tests. First, dominated too often. You make a pair and still lose a big pot, like King-Jack offsuit, Queen-10 offsuit, Ace-7 offsuit. Second, poor playability. You miss flops and can't realize equity, like offsuit trash and disconnected hands. Third, reverse implied odds. When you hit, you're not loving it, like top pair with bad kicker or weak draws. Fourth, can't overcome rake. Small edges disappear when the house takes a cut every pot. Isolate the variables, position, who's left to act, opener type, and stack depth. Weak hands become disasters when you're out of position or facing a tight range. The high rake reality, why slightly profitable becomes losing. In many cash pools, rake punishes marginal calls and thin opens. That means your pre-flop strategy needs a bias toward clean equity realization and high card strength. Here's the practical translation. If a hand requires you to outplay them later to show profit, it's usually a fold, especially from early position or the blinds. Common weak hands. You must stop defending. Let's categorize the usual suspects. These hands aren't always folds, but they are the first ones you cut when conditions aren't perfect. First, offsuit Broadway, trash, King-Jack offsuit, King-10 offsuit, Queen-Jack offsuit, Queen-10 offsuit. They look pretty and play ugly. Second, weak offsuit aces, Ace-2 offsuit through Ace-9 offsuit. You flop top pair and donate to better aces. Third, disconnected suited hands, Jack-5 suited, 10-4 suited, 9-4 suited. Suited does not equal playable. Fourth, low gappers, 8-6 suited, 7-5 suited. Especially versus tight opens, you're chasing thin, rake-taxed equity. Fifth, small pairs in the wrong spot. 2s through 6s aren't auto-call. Without implied odds in position, they're leaks. Context dictates strategy. A hand can be playable on the button versus a wide opener and still be a snap fold from the small blind versus a nit. The who's left to act rule. Most pre-flop mistakes happen because players ignore players behind them. Your weak opens and loose flats collapse when squeezes enter the chat. First, under the gun in middle position. If aggressive regulars are behind, cut the bottom of your opening range. Don't donate to 3 bets. Second, cut off in button. You can open wider, but still avoid hands that can't defend versus 3 bets, like King-10 offsuit, Queen-9 offsuit. Third, small blind, the worst seat. If your hand can't 3-bet or call profitably, folding is your default. When in doubt, fold the hands that create domination risk. Being first in is not a license to light money on fire. Facing an open when weak hands should hit the muck. Pre-flop calling is where hope poker thrives, and in high rake, hope is expensive. First, versus a nit, a tight opener, fold more. Their range smashes your marginal continues. King-Jack offsuit and Ace-9 offsuit are not defends, they are negative expected value invitations. A second versus a maniac, a wide opener. You can continue wider, but do it with hands that make robust value, like Ace-Jack suited, King-Queen suited, pocket 9s, or hands that can 3-bet bluff effectively, like Ace-5 suited. Don't call because suited. Third, versus a calling station, post-flop sticky. Avoid weak bluffing candidates out of position. Prioritize hands that flop top pair with strong kickers and strong draws. Anti-hope poker means you stop calling with hands that require perfect flops. If your plan is maybe I flop 2 pair, your plan is flawed. 3-bet or fold becomes cleaner than call. With weakish hands, the decision is often binary. Apply pressure or get out. Flatting creates multi-way pots rake leakage, and positional nightmares. Some hands perform better as 3 bets than calls because they block strong continues and can win pre-flop. First, good blockers. Ace-5 suited through Ace-2 suited, king. 10 suited in some lineups, Queen-10 suited in position. Second, not good flats. King-Jack offsuit, Ace-8 offsuit, Queen-10 offsuit. These don't realize well and get dominated when they hit. But don't hallucinate creative 3 bets from the blinds versus tight ranges. If villain continues correctly, your bluff burns. Hand scenario, the small blind trap. Online cash, 100 big blinds, effective, high rake. Villain is a nit in the cutoff, opening a tight, value-heavy range. Hero in the small blind is dealt king of spades, jack of hearts. Cutoff opens to 2.5 big blinds. Big blind is a regular who likes to squeeze. You call, big blind calls. Pot is multi-way and you're out of position. Flop comes jack of clubs, 7 of diamonds, 2 of spades. You check. Cutoff C bets small, big blind calls. This is where the leak shows up. You hit top pair, but it's a dirty top pair. Cutoff's range contains ace-jack, king-jack sometimes, pocket jacks and better, and overpairs that barrel. Big blind's flat can include jack-10 suited, queen-jack, sets, and sticky 7x. If you call, you're signing up to face turns and rivers out of position in a raked pot with a hand that struggles to get 3 streets of value and struggles to withstand pressure. The correct fix is earlier, pre-flop, versus a nitty cutoff, open with a squeeze-prone big blind behind. King-Jack offsuit is a disciplined fold in the small blind. You avoid the dominated top pair problem entirely and keep your small blind strategy tight and aggressive. Weak pairs and the set mining myth. Let's attack the most common justification. I'll just set mine. Small pairs need implied odds, position, and a villain who pays. In high rake, set mining becomes less attractive because you're paying extra every time you miss, which is most of the time. First, call with 2s through 6s mainly when you have position. Stacks are deep enough, and villain is likely to stack off with 1 pair. Second, fold when you're out of position, stacks are shallow, or the opener is tight and disciplined. If you're calling from the blinds to hit a set, you're usually burning expected value. Your future self will thank you for folding now. A simple folding framework you can use today. First, out of position, plus dominated when you hit equals fold first, ask questions later. Second, multi-way risk, meaning players behind equals tighten up immediately. Third, high rake equals avoid thin preflop continues and marginal calls. Fourth, no clean plan versus 3 bets equals don't open it, don't call it. Your edge pre-flop is not in being tricky. It's in building a range that prints in the real environment you play in. Key takeaway. Weak starting hands don't fail because you play them wrong post-flop. They fail because they are dominated, realize equity poorly, and can't beat high rake. Tighten up most aggressively out of position and when aggressive players are left to act. If a hand can't defend versus 3 bets, or produces dirty 1-pair value lines like king-jack offsuit, queen-10 offsuit, ace-8 offsuit, your default should be to fold pre-flop and protect your win rate. Now, let's test your edge. Question 1. What 4 traits does the article list as tests that can make a starting hand weak? Answer. Being dominated too often, poor playability, reverse implied odds, and not being able to overcome rake. Explanation. The article defines weak hands by these repeatable problems, not by whether the cards look pretty. Question 2. In high rake cash games, what is the practical rule for hands that require you to outplay them later to show a profit? Answer. They're usually folds, especially from early position or the blinds. Explanation. The article explains that rake punishes marginal lines, so you should bias toward clean equity realization and strong, repeatable value. Question 3. According to the who's left to act rule, why do weak opens and loose flats often fail? Answer. Because players behind can 3-bet or squeeze, collapsing your marginal decisions. Explanation. The article highlights that ignoring aggressive players behind you increases multi-way risk and forces you into bad spots with weak holdings. Question 4. In the small blind trap scenario versus a nitty cutoff open with a squeeze-prone big blind behind, what is the recommended pre-flop decision with King-Jack offsuit? Answer: fold pre-flop. Explanation: the article explains King-Jack offsuit creates dominated, dirty top pair situations out of position in a raked, squeeze-prone spot, so the fix is to fold earlier. Question 5. What conditions does the article give for when calling with small pairs, 2s through 6s, is more reasonable? Answer: mainly when you have position, stacks are deep enough, and the opener is likely to stack off with one pair. Explanation: the article argues set mining is often a myth in high rake, so small pairs need implied odds plus good positional and opponent conditions to justify a call. Study hard, play smart. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next lesson.